Good morning, welcome to Wombledon. Me and Mrs Womble are out today and we've come to a place called Hunsbury Hill in Northampton. We're just outside Northampton, it's about 2 miles into the centre down there. And this is a really interesting place because there's a couple of things going on. Well, there's loads of things going on. It's a sort of country park now, but in about 700 AD, no, BC, sorry, the local tribe decided that they were going to build a hill fort up here, which I'll go into in a bit about what these things were and who they were. But also, since then, this railway's been put in. Now, this was to quarry ironstone. And if you know me, you know that I'm kind of interested in that kind of thing in Northamptonshire. So we're going to take a wander around, do you a little video, talk a little bit about the hill fort, the people that built it, what happened to it, as much as I know, the bits of research I've done. So yeah, let's carry on. Now this site is all covered in trees. I mean, this bit's green here, this big flat piece here, but the rest of it behind me here is all covered in trees, and in there is the hill fort. But 2,500 years ago, I don't think it would have been, because like I say, the local tribe that lived here built this massive, great big hill fort. It's about 4 acres in size. The walls of it, which were built out of earth, about 15 metres tall, and it was a sort of protective and defensive place. Probably about 50 or 60 family units within the little tribal area up here. And the thing is, underneath this ground, like I've said in other videos, or I will say in other videos, it's absolutely rich in iron. This is a sandstone under here, which is just full of iron. And during the Iron Age, obviously, that made you a rich man. So the tribe that were here, and I'll have to have a look, I think it was the Tavi, were quite rich people. They were quite agrarian, they sort of grew crops and things, but they also would have been making iron products for themselves and probably to trade on a wider basis with other tribes. You've got the Deboni over in the west here, you've got the Iceni, which is Boudica's lot. The Tawny was a... anyway, the names are all a bit... the Brigantes up north, they'd have all needed iron for weaponry, for ploughshares, that kind of thing, whatever. Those kind of things. So if you were sitting on top of a big stone outcrop, which is what Northamptonshire is famous for, really, you'd have been quite a rich man. So we're going to go and keep on looking round. It's a bit of a busy place because it is, like I say, right in the centre of Northampton. You can see right behind me here the buildings and the fences and things. Don't know what this is here. It looks like a school. But there's pathways and things that we're going to have to go back round this field to get actually to the hill fort. And we'll also take a look at the Ironstone railway that's just over here if we can. It's a bit embarrassing for me when I walk around and I've got this stick out in front of me and I'm talking nonsense to the camera. But yeah, I think more and more people are aware that that's what we do these days, isn't it? Anyway, let's carry on. Lovely day for it. So this is the car park for the sort of country park. Like I said earlier, it is Sunday, so it's quite busy. You can see it's easily accessible by car. And on foot as well. You can walk from Northampton town centre itself. Probably take you a good half hour to get up here, but it's worth the walk, really. And so yeah, we're just wandering through some woodland and heading towards the hill fort itself. There's something else just here that we're talking about, is the Ironstone railway. I think it's a metre gauge, I think, which is quite a common size for these Ironstone railways. But we'll talk about that a little bit more as we come back through. But yeah, lots of people out walking. Like I said earlier, it's a bit foggy, a bit damp, but it is the last day of November in 2020. So on we go. As you can see behind me, there's a little playground. And I think Northamptonshire County Council or Town Council, whatever it is, they do actually look after this place quite well. The actual hill fort itself's been neglected over the centuries. When you consider it's 2,700 years, something like that, since it was built. 27 centuries. So yeah, it's going to show some signs of wear. We're heading towards the actual ring, if you like now, the actual hill fort itself. Like I say, there's dog walkers around, so you will hear some of that, but yeah, it's good to see people out, to be honest, at the moment, with all this COVID nonsense going on. So this is the first sign of the actual hill fort. You can see behind me, all the way around, I'm in the bottom of a ditch, which was a defensive embankment, really. Obviously, we're on top of a hill, not a massive hill, but a hill nonetheless. And so if you've climbed up this hill with the intention of doing bad, you get to this this area, and all of a sudden you've got these big ditches, and the tribe that's trying to protect the place are just standing up here. So I'm going to continue in, and we'll actually look at the inside of the hill fort itself, because you get a really good view of it from there. It's all overgrown now, which it wouldn't have been back then. There'd have been no trees around. So on we go. There's kids running around up here. They're pointing at me because I'm filming, but they're enjoying themselves, and so am I. So this is it then. This is the actual hill fort. As you can see, it's all surrounded by trees now, but back then, in the 7th century BC, it would have been bare of trees, and you would have been able to see the embankments, which I can see through the trees, but you won't see on the camera, and the ditches, the defensive ditches. The tribe that lived here for some minimum 300 years were the Delapre people, and there would have been maybe 50 or 60 families meeting here, maybe living here. There's all kind of archaeological evidence been found, sort of swords and things like that. Obviously they're in the museums now, but so they were living here somewhere between 700 and 400 years, which is a long time if you think about it. And then there was a bit of a problem. A tribe from south of here, I'll have to read this, the Cortavalluni, decided that they wanted a piece of the action. All this iron up here, and also a few years before they started moving in, the Romans had a go. So in sort of AD 56, something like that, Julius Caesar, which we've all heard of, decided that he'd try to invade Britain, and that might have pushed the Cortavalluni up into this area, away from this sort of imminent invasion that did happen in 43 AD, so another 100 years later. So we've got this big open space here, surrounded by a ditch, very similar to a henge in many ways, but it's a different kind of thing. So we'll have a look at it. Let's go and have a look at it. Now this area, like I keep saying, is a sort of public footpath now, not public footpath, a public open space now. And you can see there's dog walkers around and that kind of thing. But just behind me here, you can see the ditch, or no, sorry, the bank that surrounded the hill fort. So the people would have been living down here, working, doing whatever they do down in here, and then up on here is the bank that would have been a defensive structure. Maybe also kept cattle in and that kind of thing, and then down there you can see there's a big ditch. Now that's probably, nowadays it's probably about 4 meters below me, but the archaeological digging suggests that it would have been about 8 meters below. And like I said a second ago, none of these trees would have been here. I mean, there's some beautiful trees here, but the trees wouldn't have been up here. They'd have kept this clear so that they could keep an eye on what was going on around here. Just down there is the River Nen, or the River Nene, depending where you are, which would have been a way to transport the iron, or the iron ore, to other places, which would have obviously helped with their trade balance and that kind of thing, you know, economics of the Iron Age. But you've got to think to yourself, 27 centuries this place has been here, and it's still standing. It's not in the best condition, but it's still here. And I'm walking along something that was put there by an ancestor 27 centuries ago. And it's beautiful, really quiet. There are lots of dog walkers, and lots of dogs, lots of children. But that's a beautiful thing. Hello, mate. There's a little wren down there. So I'm walking around here. Mrs. Womble's down there, wondering where I've disappeared off to, but I'm sure we'll meet up again. It's a big circle, it's not like we're going to get lost. So yeah, this down here, let's go back down here, is the ditch. So this was dug out, believed to be with sort of, I suppose they'd have used some iron tools, wouldn't they? But you can see the ditch, hopefully, quite clearly. As I go down here now, you'll probably see it better. It's a bit open that way, closed in that way, sorry. So yeah, you can see either side of me Now if you look there, look how high that is. So there was a lot of work went into building this. Morning. So yeah, 2,700 years ago these people would have put this together, and it's still here now, and people are still enjoying it. Obviously people don't live on this land anymore, but they live all around it. It's completely surrounded by houses. Just up here is what we call in Northampton big Tesco's, because it's the big, you know, the big Tesco for the town, or this side of the town. There is another one on the other side, but I'm going to have to go back up there now, because Mrs. Womble's going to be wondering where I've gone, and she's going to be trying to follow me. So yeah, so you can see I'm in this sort of gully, this ditch, which was dug out, like I say, 2,500 years ago to defend the place. And the fact that it's still standing is a bit of a testament to the amount of work they did, really, isn't it? Anyway, I'm going to go back over into the actual hill fort itself now and do some more filming there. Okay, we're going to walk all the way around the inside of the hill fort, just to give ourselves an understanding of the size of it. When I was reading earlier, it said it's 1.6 hectares, which is old measurements as far as I'm concerned, or about the size of 4 football pitches, 4 acres. And it, like I say, all around are these embankments. There's kids running along here, there's squirrels in the trees. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. Now, just down here on the other side of this bank, without all these trees and without all the houses that have now been built, you'd have been able to look down into the Nene Valley, which would have been the way that they would have moved around a lot more back in those days, because there weren't roads, there weren't tracks. They wouldn't have had horses and carts necessarily so much. So the easiest way to move around is on the rivers. And so as a defensible spot, this would have been great, because you could look down into the river and you can see, you know, 10 miles along here from this hill. And so you'd know if anyone was coming, whether it was for trade, you know, whether they were friendly, or whether it was for attack, you know, and make whatever precautions you needed to make. There's another couple of hill forts further along the Nene Valley, at Earthworks and Thrapston, and it's believed that they were part of this same group of people, and they were looking after the iron trade as it was back then. So yeah, this is quite a big circle. Like I say, 50 or 60 families would have lived inside here, traded, did whatever they did. Now, another thing that's long gone is the wooden ramparts that would have been around here. They would have had like a wooden palisade fence all the way around here. Don't know how they'd have made it, what tools they'd have used, but that's the evidence shows that there were wooden ramparts around here. And there's also evidence of vitrification, which means that at some point those ramparts were burnt, and it caused the stone and the soil and the rock to actually become heat treated. So evidence of that has been found. That's very, very rare in England. Up until fairly recently, it was only thought to occur in Scottish hill forts, but since sort of the 1960s, 1970s, evidence has been found in England a little bit, Ireland, even as far as the Czech Republic, Poland, Germany. So yeah, this is quite a rare thing to have happened in an English hill fort, but it did happen here. So yeah, we've gone almost all the way around now, so we're gonna have to step outside and look at it from that way. It's a difficult one to really get your head round, and if I do more of these hill fort things, you'll really get an understanding of what we're looking at. Me and Mrs. Womble, we love these hill forts because it kind of puts us in touch with something that's long forgotten, but you know, part of who all of us are. It's, you know, it's everybody's heritage, everybody in the world. You know, it's not just a British thing. It's these kind of things have been happening all over the world for centuries and centuries. It was only when the Romans turned up with their ways of fighting and the chariots and that kind of thing, and the legions and all that kind of thing, and their straight roads and their new ways of thinking, their new gods, their new currencies and all that kind of thing, that these things really started to change into what we know really now as society. Before that, there was these rich and wealthy people all over the land, in places like this, and they would have lived here for, like I say, 500 years, and that's a long time. When you consider how difficult life is even nowadays, to survive up here with no electricity, with no gas, nothing, for 500 years as a cohesive family unit is quite a thing, really, isn't it? So onwards and upwards. So what I'm going to do, or what we're going to do, Donna's already ahead of me, Mrs. Womble, is we're actually going to walk out of the hill fort itself now. It's all still part of it, but the actual main living area, and through these ditches. They've actually dug through, or it's been broken through, something like that. And as you can see, so there's one behind me there, and then there's another one here. So it's called multivalate. It's a multivalate hill fort. So you've got these two earthworks with the ditches in between. So we're going to have a look at it from the outside. Now we're on the outside of the earthworks, and as you can probably hear behind me is the road, and it's a major road. It's a big road. The M1's just over here, about half a mile away, and this is the main road through Northampton down to the M1 from sort of the town itself. So yeah, this is we're on the outside of the earthworks now. So obviously this would still have been used. The people would have still been in and out of here. But there's no, I don't think there's any consensus really exactly what these things were. There probably is, and I've not read enough, but I have different theories anyway. But yeah, so these people living here for 500 years, anywhere between sort of 300 and 500 years, rich off the, as it was at that time, rich, because they're underneath this ground, as I say, it's just full of iron. It's a super concentrated iron rich sandstone, so it's really, really easy to get the iron out of it using smelting and that kind of thing. I believe they use something called funnel smelting, which I'll have to have a look into. But yeah, this was their home for 500 years. And then like I say, the Cortavellini tribe, I might have got that wrong again, they turned up in about 50 AD, and they wanted a piece. And it probably would have been quite violent. They'd have been coming up from the south, which is over here, the other side of the monument, over here, the earthworks, and that was quite an unprotected side of this particular place, because they were looking down at the river, and so they've turned up from the south with whatever weapons and cavalry and whatever they used, and they were known to be quite a warlike people. But, like I said earlier, it may well have been that they had heard of these new Roman invaders. Now, obviously, we were trading, the people in England or Britain or whatever you wanted to call it, just a collection of kingdoms at the time, not even that really, just tribal units. They were trading all over the world at that point, or the known world. You know, we've got Egyptian tin, British tin or Cornish tin has been found in Egypt. And we've got gold here from Syria and places like that that's 2,000 years BC. So it was known that we were trading all over the place. So when the Romans started to come across the channel in the last half of the century BC, then obviously the Brythonic people that were on the land here already probably thought to themselves, oh, we've heard about this lot. They're a rum bunch, and we need to try and move away from them. So that might have well have been one of the reasons that the Cortavellini came up here and started taking the land. And then 100 years later, the Romans turned up and just took it. And by the end of the 1st century BC, this was abandoned. And it's never really been used again since. Some Anglo-Saxon pottery has been found up here, but that could be anything. I mean, that could be anything, couldn't it? It could be someone just dropped a pot as they were coming through. There's no evidence been found so far of any actual living up here since the 1st century AD. So yeah, now we're walking all the way around the outside. Lots of families around, lots of squirrels. It's a lovely place to come, and like I said earlier, you can park your car. It's free to park your car. I think there's usually a cafe, but obviously at the moment there's this COVID hoax going on, so that's closed, like a lot of small businesses are. So here we are. This is back into the ditch now, in between the two banks. You can see how high it is up there. I'm just going to turn around and use Mrs. Womble for scale. She's very shy, so we're going to go this way. Sorry.
That's all right.
So yeah, walked through the bottom of the ditch, and like I said, on the other side, and when I was over walking around the other side, this is ancient. Somebody did this 2,500 years ago, and here it still stands. Won't be able to say that about your Bovis home or your Persimmon home, will you? There'll be no evidence of that in 2,500 years. Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful place. Lots of fungus about as well, which is nice. The one thing that's quite nice to see in such a public area with so many people around is a distinct lack of litter. There is some, like that little blue bag behind me there, but it's nice to see. Because a lot of the time when you go out into any kind of woodland, you end up tripping over other people's crap. So yeah, it's good to see that people are taking care of it a little bit. And maybe if people take care of it, it'll stay here for another 2,500 years for other people to try and enjoy. Hello, doggy. A little doggy over here, look. Hello, mate. He's not going to say anything to me. Bye-bye then. Beautiful trees. Beautiful, beautiful trees. Little squirrel boxes or bird boxes up here as well that the local wildlife trust or council, whatever, have put out. Where is it? There he is. Anybody home? Yeah, no, that's a bird box. You can tell why, because it's got the metal plate around the front to stop the bigger birds getting in. Bigger birds came. But yeah, so we're still in the central ditch, which is obviously much bigger because it goes all the way around the outside of that four football field sized thing. And then there's another one on the other, just over here as well. So we're going to get round in a minute to the Ironstone railway, and I'll try to talk to you a little bit about that. Didn't do much research on that, not for this site anyway. But yeah, it's very, very beautiful. You should come down. You should, you know, it's a bus ride outside of Northampton. If you don't have a car, it's walkable from the town centre, and it's beautiful. Really nice place to come. And if you learn a little bit of the history before you come, and you're as amazed at things as I am, and the sort of age of all these things, like I say, 25, 27 centuries this has been here, then it adds a certain magic to it. Look at this tree behind me. Look at this. Isn't that beautiful? Absolute monster of a tree as well. Just to give you an example, look at that. I like to touch trees. I like to feel like I'm in touch with nature. The trees probably like get off, but yeah, look at this. Beautiful, isn't it? So this is another gap in the earthworks just around the edge here. And yeah, beautiful trees. Hundreds and hundreds of squirrels, and there's evidence of them everywhere. Where at this time of the year, obviously they're storing up their little larders, putting their nuts in the ground. And you'll hear the jays every now and then. Magpies do it as well, but jays much more often. They'll sneak up. They'll watch the squirrels from the top of the tree there. They'll watch it bury its nut, then they'll wait till it goes, and they'll come and nick its nut. So because they're very clever corvids. Yeah, clever little birds. And you can see obviously evidence of rabbit holes and things. Though obviously rabbits won't come out. That's an interesting thing though when you think about rabbits. We didn't have rabbits here until the Romans turned up. So you know, that's one of those things that the Romans did do for us. The thing in the inside here, the hillfort, obviously they didn't do that for us. They did that for themselves. These are nice as well. These little brackets, fungus. These ones are really nice and soft. They'll get harder. I don't know which species they are, but they're beautiful little things. You can see the. Oops, there's the camera there. Lovely, isn't they? There's some bigger ones down here as well. And then you can see them there. So yeah, going to continue on. Hopefully my battery doesn't go, and I'll be able to tell you a little bit about the Ironstone railway. I'm talking about Ironstone. There's a bit there. This is a bit that's just lying there. And like I said before, probably not to you because I never actually upload my videos. It goes green when it's exposed to air, but you can see on this sort of less exposed piece, it's got the colour of iron. Look. So yeah. Let's carry on and find the Ironstone railway. I've come up onto the ditch, the bank again, and you can really see it here. If you see Mrs. Womble down there, she's wombling off because she doesn't like the camera. But I'm a good 10, 15 feet above the ditch down there. So you really get an idea of it, and you can see over the other side here, that's the other embankment. And like I say, it was a defensive, protective kind of thing. Ah, what's this here? Ooh. I wonder, oh yeah, here we go. This is a datum point. It's got an Ordnance Survey mark on it, look. Interesting. So that there is OS point BMS7331. I'll have to see if I can find something out about that. And there you go, look. Triangulation station for the Ordnance Survey. Huh, interesting. I'll show Mrs. Womble. So I'm on the southern side of the hill fort now. And this is where the invaders would have come from. They'd have come across here, and I don't think these trees would have been here. And it must have been a frightening time, mustn't it, if you think about it. They've been living there for 500 years, just 100 yards that way. And all of a sudden, these people you probably know, there might even be family ties, but they're probably running away from the Romans. And they're coming up looking for somewhere to shelter. And they've got this hill fort that's pre-made, ready-built, flat-packed. It's IKEA almost, isn't it? Interesting with the Vikings, but there you go. And they'd have come rushing, but well, they might not have come rushing. It might have been a slow and steady thing, and there might have been little skirmishes out here. And until eventually, the menfolk, because it would have been probably the menfolk on the whole, I'm not saying that women didn't fight, and it's proven that women did fight in this time, they would have just had to move on, or been killed, we don't know. We don't really know. These, pre-writing, if you like, writing things down. We had oral history back then. Another thing that the Romans did for us was to remove that kind of way of doing things. But so yeah, they'd have come over this, and you can see this grass here, and probably swarming, especially when the Romans turned up. When the Romans took this, it would have been a very violent time, because they were super trained, you know, and they came from all over Europe as well. A lot of people think that the Romans all came from Italy, but what the Romans like to do is they'd go into a place, invade it, and then they'd, you know, like the Americans do with the British now, they'd give them some of their society. So the equivalent of hamburgers and you know, American drama and this, that, and the other. So they'd give them the roads, they'd give them the viaducts, and then say, you can carry on worshipping whoever you like, as long as you pay us taxes and make sure that we are the kings. So they'd have come in here, probably across here. I'm trying to think where the nearest substantial Roman road is. The A5's not far from here, but they'd have come in somewhere around here, and whoever was living here at that time, whether it was the Corval, I forget the names, the two tribes that would have maybe been mingling here, we don't know for definite, they'd have just wiped them out probably. If they'd fought. They might not have fought. They might have just gone, okay, fair enough, we've heard about these Romans. And they could have been soldiers from anywhere. Silesia, Thuringia, all these different places in the Roman Empire. Soldiers from, you know, Poland and Germany, as we call them now, would have come here as Romans. But they weren't Romans, they were Germans, but or whatever. But yeah, that's a really interesting thing when you look into the sort of the history of how the Romans got away with it, if you like. So yeah, like I say, we're going to go over to the, if we can find it, we're sort of wandering around in circles at the moment, but we're going to go over to the Ironstone railway, which is up here, which is obviously another empire, isn't it? It's the same one as far as I'm concerned. It's just a continuation of the same thought process that looks at everything as a resource to be exploited, rather than looking around and going, yeah, but we've got to live alongside it. So yeah, somewhere around here we'll find the railway tracks again, and I'll see if I can't tell you a little bit about that. This is the Ironstone railway, Hunsbury Hill Ironstone Railway. I think it's a metre gauge, I might be wrong. It was put in sometime in the 1850s, I believe. They tried to protect the hill fort over here with an act of parliament, but unfortunately, to buy the land off the landowner, it was just too expensive, and so they started quarrying the ironstone, which is obviously the reason why the tribes were here in the first place. Started quarrying it on an industrial scale, and so like right behind me, you can see the train lines, and just up there there is a little station. We're going to walk up there because some of the volunteers are here today by the looks of it, and hopefully we'll get to chat to somebody and find out a little bit more about it. But yeah, it's lovely in the woodland. You just sort of wander through it, and I'm just going to go around the corner here. So it's a bit of a bottleneck, so we might meet some other people, but it is what it is. And actually have to walk over the rails, which is pretty cool. They've got these big gates to either side of it, like this. But you can see if I go this way, the train line disappears off in that direction, and I believe now it just sort of does a circuit round the hill fort. Might be wrong. I'll have to find out more about it. And then on this side, it's coming into sort of there's a platform up there. I know that because that's where we parked the car. And you can see there's also a point there. So the trains are obviously directing into different places. So we'll wander back down towards the main entrance. Oh, there's a little cabin thing there as well. Don't know what that is. Made out of plastic, so it's not ancient. It's not even historic, I suppose. But there you go. It says just here, look, keep your parks tidy. And to be fair to it, this is quite a tidy park. And again, just trying to get the message across. Don't be a tosser. And it's good because it is quite a clean park. Looks like they're still working on some of the trains, and I believe that they do little rides up and down here. I don't really know, but you can see the train line just over the fence behind us there. And we're going to wander up here and hopefully see if there's anybody around that we can maybe have a chat to. But yeah, so this is, I mean, and the car park's just here. And we're parked just here. So it's dead easy to access, and it's a lovely place to come. We've been walking around for about an hour and a half now. But you could walk around for 2 or 3 hours, and I don't think there's any restrictions on the parking. I'm hoping not. I'm hoping not to be clamped when I get back. But yeah, so this is, and you can see in the background over here, there is evidence of something going on, and there's a car in there. Let's see what that sign over there says, shall we? It says, Christmas Experience Train Rides, December 5th, 6th, 12th, 13th, 19th, 20th and 24th, with a present from Santa as well. That'd be nice. It's got a number there you can call if you want to book that. And the booking line opens 4 till 8, so it's obviously being done by somebody in their spare time. And you can see through here, through there, you've got some of the old train stock, which is interesting. And you can actually see there is a track leading in a separate direction. So this might have been where the Ironstone trains came in and put them onto because I don't think this is meter gauge. I think this is standard 4.5 foot or whatever it is. But yeah, you see the old carriages in the back there as well. I'll walk over there and see if I can't put my selfie stick over the top of the fence so you can get a better view. One of the carriages over there has got a bit of smoke coming out of it. Hope it's not on fire. So I'm stood on the train line again. There is a little pedestrian crossing here. Now obviously they don't want you wandering up there, and I'm not about to start doing that. But just behind me over here, or in front of me, is some kind of works. And if you look here, I don't know if you can see it particularly well. I'll have to move the camera a bit. You'll only be able to hear me there. There's a little crane. Look at that. So it'd be nice to come back down when this is all open, to be fair. You've got these carriages and things in there. That one looks a little bit like Thomas, doesn't it? Draws the kids in, I suppose, which is always good. And just down here, I noticed when we walked past here earlier on, they've got like a miniature track. And my belief is, I don't know if that's the case or not, there's nobody around to ask, is this is probably a model of what the big track does around here now. Because I think it's just a big circuit that they've done so that people can have train rides and things. And look, the old signals over here as well. Old-fashioned things. None of this massive electrification that's happening all over the country now with the train lines. And I think in the background there, sort of the funny thing in the background behind the signal is a church. They sort of started building modern churches, didn't they, in the 1950s and 1960s. So yeah, the old signal line there. And like I say, you get the view of the works back there. And we're back in the field where we kind of started. This is like a dog walking field. So it's a lovely walk. We've had a lovely time. We might pop down to Delapre Abbey as well today and see if I can't fit that in the video. If not, I'll do a separate one. I've not done much research on it, so I'll just be going down there and saying here it is. But there you go. Yeah, so if you've liked the video, you know what to do. Press like. If you want to see more like this, subscribe. And tell your friends. And more importantly than all of that, come and see it. It's a beautiful place. And it's open to everyone. We're going to go and get a cup of tea over there. There's a little cafe down there that I've noticed is called the Drover's Return, which I think may be a reference to what's it called? Coronation Street. I don't watch TV. I know that it is the Drover's Return. So we're going to go and see if we can have a cup of coffee, cup of tea, whatever. Maybe a little bite to eat, and then probably pop down to Delapre Abbey. Sorry, I'm burping a little bit. So there we go. The Hunsbury Hill Iron Age hill fort and Ironstone, Northampton Ironstone Railway, as it says on the sign just over there. So here we are at Delapre Abbey. We've come down here on the way back home from the hill fort. We've had a little walk around, and I think there's more to do here than just a quick add-on at the end of that video. So I'm going to do another video. So yeah, in the meantime, why don't you come down to Delapre Abbey? It's free to get in. Big car park, plenty to see. We've just had a walk around for about an hour and a half. You can see the beautiful house behind us, and very peaceful, quiet. Obviously it's Sunday today, so it's a little bit busier, but yeah, definitely worth a look. So like I keep saying, if you've liked the video, I've got an ear infection. If you like the video, press like, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of this kind of stuff. But more importantly, get yourself out. Come and see these places for yourself, so I don't have to come and look at them for you. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.